So let me explain you how the Ansible master and slave configuration will work actually. So let's consider this is your master machine. This is your master machine of your Ansible, and let's say these are the client machines. So those can be like multiple machines you can create. So and those can be already present in your environment. So first thing first, how does this Ansible master gonna connect this client? So let's say this is client one, this is client two. Okay, so how this Ansible machine master gonna connect to this client one and client two? So that is the important thing here. So for Linux machine, it uses the SSH protocol. Okay, so it uses the SSH protocol. Okay, so you might have heard that Ansible is an automation tool, right? So as it is trying to connect with SSH, we have to set up the passwordless SSH first. Why? It is automation tool. We don't require to give the password every time, right? So that's why what we'll be doing, we'll be setting up a passwordless SSH, okay? I would say we need to set up a passwordless SSH, okay? Passwordless SSH. That's what we require, or it is also called as key-based key-based connection. Okay, so that's what you can call. So to understand this thing, let me go ahead and tell you how this thing is gonna work. If you're not familiar with the Linux concept, so let me go ahead and tell you how actually the keys work actually. So let's say if this is your master node, okay, this is your master node. So whenever you will fire the command ssh hyphen keygen, okay, wherever you will find the command ssh-keygen on your master machine. So what happens, it creates two key pair. Okay, it create one pair and it has two keys. Those are symmetric in nature. Okay, so one is known as private key. Okay, one is known as private key and other is known as public key. Okay, so it creates actually two keys. Okay, so whenever this master wants to communicate with the nodes, so what happens, so as I mentioned, ssh keygen creates a key pair of private keys and public keys. So this master is gonna send these public keys over to the clients. Okay, and whenever in the backend, whenever this master is trying to communicate and trying to authenticate with the clients, it's gonna tell that, okay boss, this is my private key and public key is already sent on the client machine, right? So it is already present on the client machine. Okay, so there this authorization and authentication happens by matching your private key versus public key. Okay, so you can think it as an example wherein public key is nothing but you are sending one sort of, you can say, lock. You can say like that. Just assume it as a one lock. Okay, and this private key is nothing but, you can assume it as one key. So what happens, you have sent this lock on a client machine, and while this master is trying to communicate with you with the client nodes, what it does, it uses this private key to communicate. Okay, and this is how the authentication happens. Okay, so that's what we are gonna see in the live demo. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's just try to connect this machine. Okay, so let me just open my terminal here. So I am using this item. You can use any terminal. If you are on Windows machine, I would highly recommend you to use the putty. So yeah, so I'll also try to help you with that if you require that thing. No issues. You can check the other videos where I have mentioned how to set up a putty to use the EC2 instances. Okay, so let me just try to log in into this particular EC2 instance. It is just asking me if I want to connect. I'm saying yes, so it is saying permission denied. Okay, let me just change the permission. Yeah, I have not changed the permission. So actually the file requires less permission that you download, so that files require less permissions. So let me just save it and let me just retry. Okay, let me just retry it. Okay, so this is my key for, so that's what I'm doing. I'm just changing the permission of for my key, nothing else. Let's try to log in again. Yeah, now this time you will be able to see that, yeah, finally I'm inside my machine. Let me just become the root here, and now I have successfully become the root in my machine. So how to start? Okay, how to start? So let us assume that I have to set up my EC2 user as a SSH user, right? Let's assume that EC2 user will be my Ansible user that I'll be using to take the access to the remote machines, right? So let's get started, and you can create your key. So first of all, you can check if there are already keys are created or not. So you can check if the SSH keys are created inside this directory. So you can just do dot SSH, and here if there are no keys like dot public dot private, nothing is there, so you have to create that, right? So ssh hyphen keygen, so this is what I mentioned, right? So it will create one new key pair, and it will ask where you want to save it. I would just select the default. I won't say anything. I just press enter, and it will create some keys. Now if I do ls SSH, you will find that there are IDRSA and IDRSA.pub available, right? So this is how we have created the particular keys. Now let's just go ahead and let's just open those keys. Okay, so as I already mentioned, this is my master node, right? This is my master node. So I want this master node to communicate with my clients, right? So how would this machine would do that, right? So it would be using the public key, right? So let me just open that public key for you. So it is inside your ssh id rsa.pub. Okay, id rsa.pub. So this is what your public key looks like. Okay, now what you have to do, you have to just go ahead and select your other instances. Okay, and you have to just make sure that your key is present there. That's it. You have to just copy your key. Okay, let me just open new terminal here. Let me go inside my directory where the key is present, and let me try to log in into that server. Okay, so this is my client machine. Okay, I'm just trying to set up the connection with my client machine. So yeah, I'm inside my client machine. So let's say if you want to set up some name also, so that way it will be more useful, and you won't get confused between the machine. So let's name it as hostname ctl set hostname. And what should I put? Let's put it as Ansible Master. That's it, Ansible Master. Okay, so this will be my name. I am just putting some name to my server. So it is asking for permission. Let's fire the same command with sudo, because you cannot set the hostname with normal user. So just fire this command with sudo, and just try to log in once. Okay, just try to say sudo su, and whoa, you got it, right? You got your name as a master, right? So let me just try to log in here. All right, so you can see now the name is changed. Okay, so it is saying, if you fire the command hostname, it will be saying I'm Ansible Master, right? Similar way, I will do the same. I'll fire the same command. So I'll just fire the same command. I'll change the name for my other node also, so that in that way I'll be able to understand that this is my master node, this is my slave node, right? So just give it a name slave. Okay, you have to just exit once, and you have to relog in. That's it, and it will have your new name, Ansible slave 1. Okay, yeah, so you can fire the command hostname, and it will show you that yeah, I'm Ansible slave 1, right? Now let's go ahead and just, so what I'm trying to say, you want to copy the key from master, right? You want to copy the key from master, so just copy the key, public key, as I mentioned. Just copy this public key. All right, I'm just copying it. Okay, and just paste this public key inside your .ssh. Okay, .ssh authorized keys. Okay, here you have to paste that key, particular key that you have copied. Okay, I'm just pasting that, nothing else. Okay, and you will see some magic here. Now when I'm trying to log in from here, let's try to log in. So let's say SSH, and let's try to log in here. So that node is this one. So let us try to just log into our EC2 user using our master. Okay, so when I'm trying to do, it is asking, are you sure on to connecting? Yes, I want to connect, and you will see it is not asking me a permission. If I fire the command hostname here, okay, if I fire the command hostname here, you'll be able to see that this is my slave 1, right? So simply I have set up one slave for my Ansible. Okay, now do the same thing for other node also, right? You have to go to instances again, and I'll tell you how this can be automated. Okay, no worries. Like there are methods. Like you don't have to copy this every time. Yeah, I know what you must be thinking. So let me just open another account. Okay, just another terminal. Let me go ahead and let me just try to log in into this node. Okay, I'm just saying yes. Okay, so I'm inside this another slave. Let's again set this as a hostname ctl set hostname, and let me give it as a name as Ansible slave 2. Okay, yeah, I forgot to mention sudo, right? This user doesn't have the enough permission without sudo. So yeah, that's it. Now let's get out of here and just try to log in again. And yeah, here you will be able to see that now the hostname has been changed to slave 2, right? So what I have to do, I have to again copy the same key. So just go on your master. So this is my master, right? This is my master. So I'm just copying this key again one more time. Just copy this key. Okay, and just paste that key inside your again .ssh authorized key. Okay, so all the keys are present here only, which will be used for your authorization. Okay, so once you have set up that, just check if you are able to log into this server without password from your master node. Okay, so just copy this thing, just go on your master node and just try to see if you are able to log into this server. Okay, so I'm just trying to SSH. Okay, it is saying you want to connect. Yeah, and that's it. We are inside our slave 2, right? If you see, we are inside our slave 2. So let me show you that host name. Okay, so this is how like you can set up a passwordless SSH between master and node, and that is what is required while you set up the Ansible, right? So let's go ahead and learn more about like how you can install the Ansible and how you can use that, right? So installing Ansible is quite straightforward actually, and it is provided with the Apple packages. Okay, so let me just go ahead and yeah, one more thing, Ansible is agentless, so that means you need not to install the Ansible client on client machine. So that is the good thing, right? You have to just install the software on only one machine, that is master machine. So yeah, let me go ahead and just install the Ansible.